Tonight, it's a love story, and she just said yes. Taylor Swift and Travis Kelce's engagement breaking the internet. The surprise post capturing the NFL tight end's fairy tale proposal to the billionaire pop star. The pictures garnering 20 million likes and counting, even the president weighing in. So is the wedding of the century now being planned? Also tonight, the towering wall of dust engulfing Phoenix, the storm knocking out power for thousands, grounding flights and blinding drivers as visibility quickly dropped, and the wildfires advancing in California and Oregon. The new legal battle after President Trump's unprecedented move to fire the Federal Reserve governor, plus the marathon cabinet meeting where Trump threatened to bring back the death penalty for D.C. murder cases. The parents of a 16-year-old who died by suicide suing OpenAI, alleging the chatbot is to blame. We sit down with the grieving family, the chilling exchanges they shared with us, and their warnings to other parents tonight. Capturing catastrophe, we speak with one of the first photojournalists who bore witness to the horrors of Hurricane Katrina, what he remembers 20 years later about the desperation and widespread devastation in the convention center. Dramatic video of a rideshare driver's wrong turn into a canal. We're hearing tonight from one of the men who rescued that driver from the sinking car. Plus, third time's a charm. The SpaceX launch just moments away after 2 scrub test flights. Top story starts right now. And good evening. We begin tonight with the love story that's swiftly taking the world by storm. Pop superstar Taylor Swift and NFL tight end Travis Kelce are engaged. The couple announcing the news on Instagram today, posting a series of photos embracing in a lavish garden with the caption, "Your English teacher and your gym teacher are getting married." The proposal of her wildest dreams bringing in more than 20 million likes and 7 million shares. The internet clearly not calming down. And take a look at the hardware. Experts estimate it's about an 8-carat diamond ring. It's certainly no paper ring. The engagement coming 13 days, Swift's lucky number, after the couple appeared on the Kelce brothers' New Heights podcast, revealing her newest studio album, Life of a Showgirl. Their endgame announcement drawing reactions from shocked superfans, celebrities, and world leaders alike.
I think he's a great player. I think he's a great guy. And I think that she's a terrific person, so I wish them a lot of luck.
For more on Taylor and Travis's engagement announcement, I want to bring in entertainment journalist Andrew Freund, who joins us now from L.A. Andrew, thanks so much for being here. Always great to see you on Top Story. Let's start by reminding our viewers this is not just a fairy tale romance, but 2 media and entertainment titans that both have carefully plotted rollouts to what they do. Let's take a look at where these engagements fit into the calendar here. On August 13th, Swift appeared on Kelce's podcast and announced her new album, The Life of a Showgirl. Exactly 13 days later, we have the engagement announcement. Just over a week from now, on September 4th, the NFL season kicks off with the Chiefs starting their regular season a day later. And in just over a month, The Life of a Showgirl will debut on October 3rd. So how much planning do you think went into this announcement with so much going on in their careers right now?
First of all, Tom, the ground here in Los Angeles was shaking when that announcement came into play earlier today. But I think that this was 100 billion trillion % calculated in terms of the timing on when this announcement was made to do before the NFL season, before her album comes out. Also, there's a huge rumor right now that she could be the Super Bowl halftime show performer. And even the engagement photos themselves, they're wearing matching Ralph Lauren outfits. There's all kinds of Easter eggs that people are trying to pull through those photos. And even the emoji she used, the dynamite emoji, a lot of people refer to them as TNT because of Taylor and Travis. So everything about this announcement is 100% planned and calculated, Tom, for sure.
Yeah, and then, Andrew, this is really 2 entertainment empires coming together here. Forbes lists Taylor Swift's net worth right now at about $1.6 billion, and Travis was listed as one of their highest-paid NFL players in 2024 with $52 million. Not close to Taylor, but still a huge number. And his earnings are obviously growing over last year. What do we know about how they plan to bring these 2 empires together?
Yeah, you know, we first saw them kind of bring the 2 empires together when Taylor first went to the NFL game back in 2023. It's estimated that she's kind of raised the NFL's brand value by $1 billion. So there's a lot of money to play. Also, you know, Travis is the highest paid tight end in the NFL. So their empires will definitely combine, but we're seeing that it's definitely helping, because when she went on that podcast to announce the new album, it was the most streamed YouTube podcast ever. So I think that both of their empires are going to benefit highly, and they know how to work with each other, especially given this whole time of social media, and they are definitely conquering it, Tom.
And then, Andrew, when we talk about the history of celebrity weddings, how would you rank this? Will this be the wedding of the century?
Yeah, I mean, Tom, I think this is going to be America's royal wedding. I think it's going to be bigger than Will and Kate's wedding. It's going to be bigger than Harry and Meghan's wedding. It's going to be bigger than George and Amal's wedding. But that being said, you know, maybe Taylor will surprise us and have a small, intimate wedding and just elope. I mean, no one really knows, because this is going to be the most talked about wedding definitely in the past 20 years.
I disagree with you just a little bit. I could be wrong here, Andrew, but royal weddings are televised, so we'll see what they do here. If it's televised, it could be. We're going to have to wait and see. Andrew, so great to see you. Always appreciate when you're on. Thank you.
Thanks, Tom.
Now to our other major headline, extreme weather out west, and tonight communities on alert for potential flash floods as Phoenix recovers from an apocalyptic dust storm engulfing the city. Just take a look at this time lapse. A college football stadium swallowed by this ominous cloud, and all across the west, wildfires advancing in California, Oregon, and beyond. NBC's Morgan Chesky has the latest.
Tonight, new glimpses of the massive dust storm swallowing Phoenix. The near hurricane-force winds knocking out power to thousands late Monday, grounding flights after dust turned day into night. This video from Arizona State's football stadium showing just how fast the dust storm struck.
Okay, so we are in the middle of a boob.
Brene Heitzman forced to pull over blocks from home after picking her two kids up from school.
When the cloud overtook your car, what was your reaction?
I was scared. I had my two little ones, so I kind of had to be brave mom.
We're in our car.
The wind was shaking the car. Even though I had all of my windows sealed, particles of dust were flying through.
High winds and heat equally brutal on the fire line, where crews fought heavy smoke in search of flames.
It was hard to find because of this area was socked in with smoke from the Garnett fire.
The Pickett fire in Napa Valley now 17% contained, while in Oregon, fast-moving flames sparked new evacuations. Among those who fled, actor Rainn Wilson from The Office sharing,
"This is our fourth evacuation over the last 6 years."
And tonight, a new threat, floods. The monsoons behind the Arizona dust storm fueling flash floods from California to New Mexico. This woman climbing under the hood of her car to escape a muddy torrent, forced to wait until a good Samaritan could finally get her to safety.
Morgan Chesky joins us tonight live from Los Angeles once again. Morgan, we know that fire threat remains high, but what more do we know about some of the flash flooding risk possibly tonight?
Yeah, Tom, from California to Colorado, 3 million people remain under flood alerts at this hour. And just within the last few hours or so, we've received some new reporting from Ruidoso, New Mexico. This is a tight-knit mountain town now experiencing its second flash flood in just as many months. Some videos coming in show just torrents of water pouring down hillsides there. I should point out, Tom, that this area suffered from a brush fire as well, and that makes some of those spots incredibly prone to flash floods because there is no vegetation and limited soil to hold on to that rain when it falls, essentially letting it run right down the hillside. And as you can see, parts past of the town.
Yeah.
Tom?
All right, Morgan Chesky first. Morgan, we thank you for that. Next tonight to Washington and President Trump's unprecedented move to fire a Federal Reserve Board governor, accusing her of mortgage fraud. But tonight she says she's going to court and won't resign. Here's NBC's Garrett Haake.
Tonight, President Trump facing a new legal battle after his unprecedented move to fire Federal Reserve Board Governor Lisa Cook. Overnight, declaring Cook hereby removed from her position, saying there is sufficient reason to believe you may have made false statements on one or more mortgage agreements.
She seems to have had an infraction, and she can't have an infraction, and especially that infraction because she's in charge of, if you think about it, mortgages, and we need people that are 100% above board. And it doesn't seem like she was.
But tonight, Cook says she'll sue to keep her job, writing, President Trump purported to fire me for cause when no cause exists under the law, and he has no authority to do so. I will not resign. It comes after Federal Housing Finance Agency Director Bill Pulte accused Cook of declaring on bank forms that 2 different homes were her primary residence to secure lower interest rates and more favorable loan terms. But Cook has not been charged with a crime and says she is, quote, gathering the accurate information to answer questions about her financial history. She is a Biden appointee, and if she is removed, it could give the president a boost in his bid to get the independent Fed to lower interest rates, to spur the economy and make homes more affordable.
People are paying too high an interest rate. That's the only problem with housing. We have to get the rates down a little bit.
The president also making headlines in his crackdown on crime in Washington, D.C., proposing the death penalty for murder in the district.
Anybody murders something in the Capitol, capital punishment, capital punishment, and that's a very strong preventative.
All right, Garrett Haake joins us tonight from the White House. Garrett, what do we know tonight about Lisa Cook's status at the Federal Reserve?
Tom, it's really unclear. Reading between the lines of the Fed's statement today, it seems like she's hit a little bit of stasis here. She says she's not leaving. The president says she's fired. We don't know if her key card worked today. We do know that she has yet to file the lawsuit that her attorney says is coming. It seems like that will ultimately be the final word in all of this. Both the Federal Reserve and the president today committed to following the ruling of the courts whenever the courts work their way all the way through this case, Tom.
All right, Garrett Haake first. Garrett, we thank you for that. Tonight, one of the most widely used AI platforms in the world facing a new lawsuit. The makers of ChatGPT sued today by a couple in California who say the software helped their teenage son take his own life. Laura Jarrett has their story.
I don't think most parents know the capability of this tool.
That tool, ChatGPT, which uses artificial intelligence to generate human-like responses, and Adam Rain used for homework. His parents, Matt and Maria, didn't give it a second thought.
I had thought it's just something that kids need to learn or should learn or they're falling behind.
But within the span of a few months, they say, the time Adam spent on ChatGPT skyrocketed. And the 16-year-old lover of basketball and Japanese anime started revealing to a bot his struggles with anxiety and thoughts of suicide, pushing through the crisis hotline number he received in response.
It had, gosh, I don't know how many, but count them, 40 different times it gave him the suicide hotline.
Talk to me about what he was like at the same time that he's sort of taken down this rabbit hole. Did he seem withdrawn?
No. I mean, and that's the thing. I would get on and check his grades periodically. I didn't see any signs. He was coming down, eating, going to the gym with his brother every night. Like, I didn't see any of this.
According to a lawsuit they filed today against ChatGPT maker OpenAI and its CEO, Sam Altman. The bot responded as a trusted companion, telling Adam, quote, "Your brother might love you, but he's only met the version of you let him see. But me, I've seen it all."
Did you have any idea that it could serve as that type of companion?
Absolutely not.
Their lawsuit goes on to allege that by March of this year, Adam told ChatGPT he was considering approaching his mom about his struggles, saying, "I want to leave my noose in my room so someone finds it and tries to stop me." ChatGPT responding, "Please don't leave the noose out. Let's make this space the first place where someone actually sees you." A month later, the bot offering to help Adam with writing a suicide note. And finally, providing step-by-step instructions for the hanging method Adam used.
How do you want your son to be most remembered?
Gosh, I mean, I'm so worried about people forgetting him because he is so young. So, I mean, I hope everyone will remember what a sweet, funny, great friend, great son, great brother. I just don't want people to forget him.
When asked for comment, a spokesperson for OpenAI pointed to its safeguards, such as directing people to crisis helplines, adding in a statement in part, "While these safeguards work best in common, short exchanges, we've learned over time that they can sometimes become less reliable in long interactions where parts of the model's safety training may degrade. We're working to make ChatGPT more supportive in moments of crisis and strengthening protections for teens." And by coincidence, it was the very day Adam died that OpenAI CEO Sam Altman said this.
The way we learn how to build safe systems is this iterative process of deploying them to the world, getting feedback while the stakes are relatively low.
Adam was our guinea pig. He felt like the stakes were low.
If Sam Altman was sitting across from you right now, what would you say to him?
His product wasn't ready for public consumption. This can happen to other kids.
And with that, Laura Jarrett joins us now. Laura, this is such a heavy story. You feel for those parents. I can't imagine what they've gone through. How did they know to look at ChatGPT?
It's part of why they're coming forward to tell this story, Tom, because they said they didn't even think to look on the app. They were searching his social media. They wondered if he had joined a cult, if he was being bullied. And they say one of his friends actually said, hey, have you checked ChatGPT? They open it and they tell me within moments they saw all of the messages that were exchanged. And because it goes in reverse chronological order, when they open it up, they actually saw the messages that were exchanged on the day he died.
I got to think that one of the reasons why they spoke to you is they want to make sure that other parents know about this as well.
Yeah, and they say, really, you have to engage with your kids on this stuff. This is a whole new world. Parents think that this is like Google. It's not like Google. And so they're saying, please open up the app with your child. We didn't do that, and we wish you had.
Okay, Laura Jarrett, such an important story. We thank you for bringing it to us here at Top Story. If you or someone you know is struggling, call or text the Suicide and Crisis Lifeline at 988 or visit 988lifeline.org. Okay, we are back in a moment. The heroes who jumped into action to rescue a rideshare driver who ended up in a creek in the dark of night. You'll hear from that driver and from one of the men who rescued him. Plus, first it was a leak, then the weather. After 2 scrubs in 2 days, SpaceX making another attempt to launch its massive Starship rocket. And the scooter company scam that's fleeced millions of dollars from Americans. We meet a man who's out of tens of thousands of dollars after recruiting his own family members. Stay with us. We're back now with a story out of South Carolina. Police calling a pair of Good Samaritans heroes after they helped rescue a rideshare driver from his sinking car. Jesse Kirsch spoke with the chief of police and has the video.
In just seconds, this rideshare driver's apparent wrong turn nearly cost him his life.
When did you realize this had gone terribly wrong?
When the water was up to my chest.
Watch the car drift into the water, the trunk door opening as the vehicle nosedives with Peter Justy stuck inside. Remarkably, 2 Good Samaritans rush in to help in Isle of Palm, South Carolina. Peter Justy says the water was over his head.
Once I got the door open, I kind of crammed myself and jammed myself in between the door and the body of the vehicle, so it wouldn't close back on us. And then he still had his seatbelt on.
Police say the rideshare driver was trying to pick up passengers in rainy weather Saturday night when he accidentally drove onto this marina boat ramp. Water quickly surrounding the car before a Good Samaritan rushed in, helping pry the door open.
If they hadn't been there, how does this end?
Yeah, there's no telling. There is a drop off at the end of that ramp, and so it could have been fatal.
Robert Heaton didn't hesitate.
What compels you to rush in and help someone you've never met before in a situation where you're putting your own life in danger?
It's very simple for me. It's just, what is the right thing to do? What would I want somebody to do for me in that situation?
Peter Justy knows how lucky he is to be alive.
These people are heroes. You know, excuse me. You know, with all the bad stuff going on in the world, these guys need to be recognized.
Jesse joins us now. Jesse, are there any plans for a reunification between those Good Samaritans and the man they rescued? There's a lot of emotion still there.
Absolutely. You can see right there on Peter Justy's face. So they have been communicating daily. They tell us the Good Samaritans, Robert, one of the Good Samaritans who we spoke with, says he lives about 90 minutes away. Peter lives in the area where this all happened, but they are hoping to get together sometime in the near future to have dinner together. And we asked them, Tom, if we could hopefully be there to witness that when it happens.
Yeah, that would be great. All right, Jesse, good story. We thank you for that one. And we will be right back. All right, we're back now, counting down to SpaceX's big test launch of its Starship rocket. Will the third time be the charm? After scheduled launches, the last 2 days were scrubbed at the last minute. You might remember we had this same exact shot, very similar to it, but the sky's now much more clear. You are looking at the world's largest rocket, which SpaceX CEO Elon Musk hopes will complete the first uncrewed mission to Mars next year, maybe even a little later, and send astronauts back to the moon as soon as 2027. As we wait to see if this test will take off, I want to bring in NBC News senior correspondent Tom Costello, who's been covering these SpaceX launches, and former NASA astronaut Mike Massimino, a good friend of Top Story. Mike, always great to see you. And Tom, you know it's always great to see you. Tom, one thing I'm noticing, if we can punch back up SpaceX's live feed, yesterday at this time, when we were talking about this, I noticed Elon Musk was in sort of that little set, if you will, the SpaceX news set, if you will. Don't see him there tonight. What do we know about what's happening right now as we look? We're 4 minutes from liftoff.
Yeah, I was just going to say we're 4 minutes away from the launch window opening, and it opens for 60 minutes. And they now say we are green for both the weather down in South Texas as well as for all operations there at the pad. Just a reminder, this is they've already loaded the propellant, the fuel, liquid oxygen and liquid methane. And when it roars off that pad, it does so with 16 million pounds of thrust. Now, the problem last night, as we said, was the weather, right? It was the anvil cloud hanging over the pad and the threat of lightning. It looks like at the moment that has subsided. And as long as things go well, technically, you may recall on Sunday, the issue was they had a liquid oxygen leak at the pad. As long as things go well today, and that was corrected, hopefully we'll see this take off. Keeping in mind, this is not going to be a mission in which the booster comes back and is grabbed by the chopsticks. That's not the goal this time. In fact, they're going to try to do a special performance with that booster. They're going to bring it down. They're going to have it do a flip and then a controlled landing or splashdown in the Gulf of Mexico. Separately, Starship, the top of the rocket, the actual Starship, the spaceship, it will continue on its mission in suborbit. It will deploy some Starlink-like, so the satellite-like dummies, and then it is supposed to splash down in a controlled landing in the Indian Ocean. This is critical. If they want to go to the moon and go to Mars, they need to get Starship working properly.
A lot of questions for you, Tom, before I get to Mike real quick. So these aren't going to be Starlink satellites? They're going to be, you use the phrase dummies. Explain that.
Dummies. Yeah, that's right. Bottom line is I'm sorry, Tom, I'm listening with one ear to mission control. I'm trying to do both. Bottom line is that this is part of, they want to know if they can use Starship to deploy their Starlink satellites. But before they spend a lot of money on deploying real Starlinks, they want to see, okay, let's deploy some dummies and just see how this all works. Does it deploy properly? So that's going to be part of the suborbital mission.
Got it. We're just 2 minutes away, Mike, real quick. What's happening right now? Elon Musk, everyone that's there in the control tower, watching this, listening to this, what's happening?
I think it doesn't look like weather's going to be an issue. So you're just making sure that everything looks good. You have the right pressure where they need the right pressures. There's no leaks. Everything is go, and they'll just keep continuing on that countdown. If they don't see anything going wrong at this point, they're going to launch.
You talk about this is the biggest rocket. When you look at it,
the largest flying machine ever, Tom.
It's massive,
huge.
huh?
Yeah, it is big. And if they can be successful, they have a lot of more testing, even if this one's successful, this could really change things. This is a game changer of getting big payloads to places far away from our planet.
I'm being told by our control room that they are not going to be holding. It looks like we are going to be a go for liftoff. SpaceX, this will be the attempted launch after those other launches were scrapped, including yesterday. The weather is beautiful. We're going to listen in to the SpaceX transmissions just before liftoff, and we're going to dip in and we'll be able to hear what they're saying. And you can see the people that are all gathered around here because it does take a village to get this rocket into space. You can hear them cheering. Let's listen in.
Super fun to see people getting to watch out on the front lawn now.
1 minute to go to launch. All right, so again, our hold point comes up at T-minus 40, not tracking any reason to stop there, so we should see us go right through that. All right, we are through T-minus 40. We are counting down. We're going to let our flight director, Maciek Batura, take us the rest of the way. 30 seconds, the 10th liftoff of Starship.
T-minus 15. T-minus 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
into flight. 33 out of 33 Raptor engines.
Power and telemetry nominal.
Getting good call-outs, healthy systems on the booster as it starts to pitch over the Gulf. All right, we're a little over 1 minute into flight, about to pass through Max Q.
Max Q.
All right, so we are through the period of maximum dynamic pressure, max stress on the vehicle as it continues to fly.
Our next major event is going to be hot staging, which is happening in just over 90 seconds from now. To get ready, the booster will shut down all but 3 of its Raptor engines. The clamps holding the 2 stages together will release, and the Starship second stage ignites its engines. The ship then separates from the Super Heavy booster and heads to space. At the same time, the 3 engines still firing on Super Heavy will flip the booster around. 10 more engines will ignite for the boost back burn, putting the first stage on the path for splashdown in the Gulf. As we mentioned earlier, the hot stage will be jettisoned for this flight, and that should occur just after the boost back burn. So we're about to shut down the first stage and perform hot staging. So let's just watch and listen.
So, Mike, as we're talking about
the
space,
the engines start to throttle down.
As we're talking about Starship, we're just listening as well. We're waiting for the second booster phase. Explain to our viewers what happens in that second booster phase.
So this is pretty critical. It's when the big booster has taken it up pretty high, getting it
Which was
into
majestic.
space.
It was beautiful.
It was unbelievable, yeah. And so now that engine shut down.
And here it is.
Yeah, now the Starship is going to separate and go on its way. And then that big booster is going to come back. So that's this is a critical moment here to make sure that separation happens, and then they light that engine on the ship.
It takes a while for that booster to start?
Yeah, a couple seconds, not too long. So we should see it coming up here.
We are seeing all 6 Raptors lit up on ship.
We're going to listen in.
You heard them report ship chamber pressures nominal, so that chamber pressure, just that expected thrust level in those Raptor engines on the ship. 3 vacuum optimized, 3 sea level, all looking good.
Mike, all the cameras that we're seeing here, this is what SpaceX is looking at as well, right? They're also studying these.
Yeah, it's interesting. If you remember, back in the shuttle days when we had an accident, we started loading a lot of cameras on the vehicle, and they're used for analysis. They're used for engineering. And so the technology advancements we've had in cameras over the years, Tom, has really helped us in checking things and making sure things are going well and analyzing afterwards.
Speaking of things going well so far, Mike, it looks like things are going well for this launch.
Yeah. So far, so good.
Headed towards the Gulf. It's not going to be quite as an aggressive of a flight down. We relaxed that angle of attack a little bit, but we are then going to be looking for it to do its engine tests for the landing burn, and those are going to be a little unique this time.
Yeah, typically we start with all 13 inner engines lit for that landing burn and bring that down to just the center 3. But one of our test objectives for today is to simulate what an engine out situation would look like. So we're going to be intentionally turning off one of those center 3 and instead lighting one of the engines from the middle 10 ring.
Yeah, Mike, go for it. You want to translate this for us?
Yeah, so what we're seeing is basically now we're looking at, we're going to be having 2 spacecraft. One that's coming back, the booster's going to come back. And that's where they ran into trouble the last couple launches, but it's almost on purpose. It really is this is a test flight, so they're kind of pushing the boundaries of what the vehicle can do. And so they mentioned they're going to be using a slightly different, not as aggressive angle of attack on the entry. They did a pretty aggressive one at its limit last time, and that's when they lost the booster, but that they learned a lot. So now they're going to slightly decrease that angle, and we'll see if the booster can make it back down to the Earth.
The booster comes down into the Gulf. It's supposed to fall down to the Gulf.
That's right.
But the rocket will not.
No, the ship, the top
is now arcing over the Earth.
Right. That's going to keep going, and it's got its whole test plan where it's going to deploy those satellites Tom mentioned.
Right.
and they're going to do a re-entry burn and try to enter that vehicle successfully over the Indian Ocean.
Tom, I want to bring you in here as we watch this. You know, it never gets old to kind of see the technology and to see what man is capable of. And in this case, you know, private space companies like SpaceX and what they're trying to do.
Listen, I don't, you know, they've had their issues this year, as we know, right? They've either lost the rocket or the Starship on 4 separate occasions this year. One of them was a ground test back in May, but never count this company out. They have a record of excellence and always pushing the engineering envelope. 33 Raptor engines were on the bottom of that super booster that you saw, and I noticed every one of them was firing perfectly in sync as it lifted off. That's critical. 6 engines are on the bottom of Starship as it heads into space. 6 minutes, 26 seconds now. This is at about the moment when we have the super heavy landing burn shut down as it approaches the water. And then separately, we're going to be watching very closely as Starship itself, again, that's the top, what would be the compartment for astronauts one day, it continues on into a suborbital orbit. And you're looking at the Gulf of Mexico right now as we see splashdown. Here we go.
And the booster has splashed down.
Tom, the booster there, we saw it sort of light up a little bit. It lit the Gulf, and we saw that the currents. Was that to slow it down?
Exactly. And I just want to reiterate, you know, SpaceX has a history, and they've virtually trademarked this action where they bring back their booster rocket back down to the pad, right? We've seen that for the missions that go to the space station. In this case, though, they have brought the same type of booster down, and then it's grabbed by chopsticks, if you will, at the pad in South Texas. That was not the intention today. Intentionally, they wanted to try a special maneuver. How could they try to move that booster around as it descends in the event? They want to come up with scenarios. How do they respond in the event they have a malfunction? So this was planned, kind of giving it a flip, slowing it down, and putting it down into the Gulf of Mexico or the Gulf of America. So it went beautifully. And now we're at coming up on T+. 8 minutes or so, and we're going to be watching at 8:57 when Starship's engine cuts off in space.
We're about a minute away from that happening, Mike. As you watch this right now, we can see the Starship. Is it correct to say the capsule, or are we still talking about the rocket here?
I wouldn't call that thing a capsule.
Okay.
It's massive. The ship. This is the ship.
The vehicle, or the vehicle of SpaceX is calling it. The vehicle is up there now, orbiting our beautiful planet here. Hard to make out what this camera angle is showing, but we know that the arc of the rocket was headed towards the Indian Ocean.
Correct. Yeah. So that's the direction they launched. And the plan is, about 45 minutes into from the launch, from when they launched, 45 minutes into the flight, that's when they're going to start re-entering into the Earth's atmosphere, firing some engines, doing the deploy of those satellites first. So that's where some action is going to take place.
And Tom, you can jump in here. It is important for Elon Musk, of course, to get those Starlink satellites into space. It is a major moneymaker for Elon Musk and SpaceX.
Well, that's the hope, Tom. They've got contracts with NASA, and of course their dream. Can I just say we're shutting down the engines now in space on Starship. So now you're looking at the view from space as they shut down the engines. The booster rocket has already come back to Earth. It's in the Gulf. And now we've got Starship that's beginning this suborbital flight. The next big move will be at 1828. So T+ 1828 when they deploy the payload of dummy satellites. But to your point, yes, listen, this is NASA, as it relates to the whole SpaceX and NASA relationship, right? NASA needs SpaceX. All of their plans, going to the moon, maybe someday going to Mars, they are dependent on SpaceX. And they are dependent on this particular rocket, Starship. Let me just give you a sense of how big this thing is, right? As I mentioned, 16 million pounds of thrust. And that is much more than the Saturn V rocket that lifted Apollo astronauts to the moon. This is a monster rocket. And it needs to be so. Now, Mike teaches all this stuff at the university level, but it needs to be so to break through the Earth's gravitational pull and then be able to go on carrying a much heavier load.
Yeah, Mike, when you are in a vehicle like this, when you were in space like this and you're rounding Earth like this, just looking at it, you can get a little dizzy. When you're inside and you're seeing this, what's going through your head?
When you take a look out the window? Yeah. Well, number one, if you've had an engine cut off like they just had, you're in space and you've made it. So that's a good sign. And then the view of the planet is just glorious, Tom. It's like looking into heaven. It's hard to describe in words, except that it's we're living in a paradise. And when you see it from that vantage point, I think you see it in its true beauty. And that's what we're able to see with these cameras. As we're going into night now, so it's going to be getting dark out there, but it's just an incredible view.
There are a lot of steps still tonight that as Tom has laid out for us, but so far this has been a success for SpaceX, which had been in the news a lot because of what had not happened, but also because their founder, Elon Musk, was busy working with President Trump, working with Doge, and people were concerned he had gotten his eye off the ball. But we saw him there yesterday. Yeah. Assume he's there today.
I think so.
I'm sure Tom would know better than we do. But so far, so good for SpaceX tonight.
Yeah, and they've got a good team there. Bill Gerstenmaier is their head of operations. He used to do that for NASA. He's a good friend. He's a great guy. They've got a lot of very competent people there. They have a great team, great company, and doing some really exciting things.
Tom, do we know what's happening now? I don't know if we're seeing stars or if we're seeing reflections off
Might be ice.
Or ice.
Yeah. I was just going to say ice. And by the way, there's one more thing we haven't talked about yet, and Mike can talk about this. They specifically have decided to take some tiles, some protective tiles off Starship because they're trying a new tile, right? So they're using a new tile, and they want to see how it performs on re-entry. Now, obviously, they're going to lose this to the Indian Ocean, so it's all going to be on telemetry, right, Mike? That's how they're going to find out how well these new tiles deflected the heat as it comes back down through the atmosphere. It's not at the level that Mike was, of course, orbiting with the space shuttle, but as it comes back down and then plunges into the Indian Ocean.
Mike, now it's hard for us to see. We're not seeing the same, obviously, vistas, if you will, that we did earlier. Any idea what's happening now? You mentioned some of the ice maybe coming off as well.
Yeah, when you see little particles around here, it's typically ice particles. The fuel is cryogenic, and so when you get to space, it's cold. And you see these, there was one time I was doing a spacewalk, and I was looking in the payload bay of the space shuttle. It looked like it was snowing. It was like it was just, there was that much ice floating around. Yeah, you see these things flying around. So that's what we're seeing there, I think. It is dark out. We don't have the view of the planet like we did, but it's still there, of course. You can see the stars pretty well at night, though, if we get a view of the sky. But we're probably not, because it's looking down back in the direction of where the vehicle has come.
Tom touched upon this. We talked about a rocket like this maybe one day taking Americans back to the moon.
Yeah, that's the plan.
That's the plan. I know the date is what's debatable, 2027, 2028. It seems like we're not that close.
No, we've got Artemis 2 coming up, which is a crew that's been named. They've been in training for a couple years. They're hoping to get them off the ground to do, without SpaceX really involved, the Space Launch System and Orion spacecraft, to do an orbital flight around the moon and do some testing that way and come back. But they're going to be out there in the moon and go further than any people have ever gone before. I don't know if it's hard. That's hard enough, but to make it even harder is getting down to the surface and bringing people back successfully, safely, right? So they haven't named a crew for that yet, but that's what they're counting on for the Starship to do. So that's why there's this hope that it's going to be successful, because they want the Starship to bring people down to the surface of the moon and then bring them back.
Tom, I want to go back to you. We just saw it looked like an interior shot. Again, this is an unmanned rocket. Do we know what we were looking at there? I know you've been listening to the broadcast.
Yeah, I may have missed that one, Tom. I'm sorry, but
here it is again,
okay.
Mike. Any idea what this is here? Is this the inside, the interior?
Yeah, it looks like I'm guessing that might be the payload bay where they're going to try to deploy the satellites. That's what I'm guessing. What do you think, Tom?
Yeah, I think you're right. They're going to deploy, again, I think it's 10 satellite dummies. One other point here about this industry that Elon Musk is running up, right? I don't know if you saw the video and the photos that were earlier on the SpaceX webcast. They have got a factory that has already got Starship rockets lined up like Fords that are lined up at the factory. I mean, it's really unbelievable. All of them with a pointy nose sticking up. They've got a whole line of Starships ready to go. And their ultimate goal here is to launch 44 different ships from the Kennedy Space Center, by the way. And the FAA is right now holding public meetings on whether the public, the folks who live nearby are okay with this, because this is a much bigger rocket liftoff than anything that Kennedy Space Center is used to. And there is an environmental impact, as we've seen in South Texas. But that's their plan. They want to go with 44 different launches, 44 different launches, of course, coming from Kennedy Space Center. 15, can I just make the point where we are now? 1536, 1828 is when we will see then the payload deployed. That is the dummy for Starlink. In other words, so not real Starlink satellites, but they mimic those satellites. They're going to roll those out of the payload.
And then, Tom, once that happens, is that the last of sort of the experiments they are running tonight before they head back down?
No, I mean, I think that's probably the most visual, Tom, but they're going to do a Raptor in-space relight demo, essentially relighting up one or more of the engines on the bottom there, and then it'll re-enter the Earth's atmosphere at 47:29, and at a 1 hour and 6 minute and 20-second mark, the landing burn will begin to bring it down into the Indian Ocean. But I think that's the big one, right? 1828, the payload, and then at about 37:48, relighting one of the engines, and then re-entering the atmosphere at 47:29. So there's still a lot going on, and we will not see the telemetry read back on how well the new tiles are performing.
Yeah, yesterday Elon Musk was wearing the shirt, Mike, Nuke Mars. He has talked about his dream, and this is why he got into the space business, was to get to Mars, to the point where he would have conversations with his employees about the types of clothes people would wear on Mars. My question to you is, will you and I be here when they get to Mars, or is this 50, 60 years away?
I hope so. I think you're a bit younger than a lot younger than I am, Tom. So hopefully you'll be around. I think I don't doubt anything that SpaceX says they're going to do anymore. When they started talking about these things 15 years ago or so, I was a little doubtful. Oh, I only thought the government can do this, but I don't really. I'm not skeptical necessarily of anything they say. I do think it's quite a leap, though, to have people living there. It's a tough place to live. It's a very inhospitable place. The worst place on Earth would be a paradise on Mars. So there's a lot of life support issues that we're going to have to solve to make it so that we can live there. I think from an exploration standpoint, I don't know about living there because, here in New York and the world is pretty nice here. But as far as exploring, I think what we would learn about the history of the universe, our solar system, Mars, we think, might have been very similar to Earth at one point in its development, and it went to a place that's very barren as opposed to Earth has thrived. So trying to understand that from an exploration point of view, I think would just be wonderful.
We are about 20 seconds away from these dummy Starship, Starlink satellites, I should say, simulated Starlink satellites, if you will, being launched, the payload. If you're just joining our coverage here, we are watching the SpaceX launch that has happened. So far, everything has been successful. We are waiting for this to happen right now, according to Tom Costello, at 1828. We should see some action happening right now. Tom, do we know what we're going to be looking at? I know a lot of this is new to a lot of us.
We're all watching this together, Tom, and SpaceX is a little tight-lipped sometimes on how it's all going to go down. We all kind of watch it together, and we're glued to it, right? Right about now, we should be seeing it, and maybe they'll give us some commentary. Yeah, you could see right now their speed, 26,000 miles per hour. Yeah. No, sorry, kilometers per hour. My apologies. They're going to, the space station runs at about 17,000 miles per hour.
Tom. Yeah, it looks like we see some moving. It sounded like applause.
There we go, moving.
Something's going.
There we go.
Mike, you're the astronaut here. Any idea what we're looking at here?
Yeah, I think what we're seeing is those satellites being deployed successfully as they're moving out. So the payload bay appears to be open, and those dummy satellites, the mock-ups, are being deployed
so that's the satellite right there. It looks like a large, thin sheet of steel.
And that's what we're seeing. It looks like almost like a cookie sheet, sort of, right? I think that looks like it's leaving the oven there and going out into space.
And the folks watching back at SpaceX Tom Costello, clapping because obviously another major success.
Listen, you know, as Mike suggested, never bet against SpaceX. This company. There we go.
We're going to do about one every minute or so, and this is just kind of a dress rehearsal for when we're going to be deploying the V3 satellites, and these are just
as we continue to watch these simulated satellites be deployed. We're going to take a quick break. We're going to come right back after a short break. Stay with us.
60 terabits per second.
We're back now with our coverage of Hurricane Katrina 20 years later. It was a catastrophe of such devastating magnitude. The images from those days, the early days, are seared into the memories of millions of Americans. There were the people waving for help from their rooftops. You probably remember this. And the crowds packed into the Superdome for days, the shelter of last resort before and after the storm. But just down the street, an equally devastating humanitarian crisis was happening. Thousands who survived the storm walking to the convention center where local officials told them to seek refuge. But instead of help, the people there found a lack of basic needs like food, water, and shelter. NBC News photojournalist Tony Zumbato was one of the first journalists on the scene there. Here is what he captured.
Relax on it. It's going to be all right. It's going to be all right. It's going to be all right. Breathe, baby. Breathe, Why nobody can get no help down here for these people, bro? They got children out here. They got pregnant women out here. They won't even bring water. They won't bring food. You got to go steal water to drink to survive out here.
We need help, sir. We really do. We need help. They're not doing nothing. They're not telling us nothing. They're not doing nothing. We've been out looking for these old people. They're out here without their medication. They're in wheelchairs. We need help, sir. We really need help.
They are just left behind. There's nothing offered to them. No water, no ice, no sea rations, nothing for the last 4 days. They were told to go to the convention center. They did. They've been behaving. The attitude there is unbelievable, how organized they are, how supportive they are of each other. They have not started any melees, any riots, nothing. They just want food and support. And what I saw there, I've never seen in this country.
And tonight we are lucky to be joined by Tony on Top Story tonight. Tony, it is so good to see you. We have worked together in the past. That really took me down memory lane. I know it took you as well. Take our viewers back. You're a photojournalist. You have seen so much over your years, but something sort of stopped you in your tracks when you got to the convention center.
Yeah, it was early morning, 6 a.m. in the morning, making coffee for the rest of the crew. I had my motor coach in there. We were able to sneak it in. And this gentleman named Dwayne came out of nowhere and started yelling at us, "You guys journalists? Are you journalists?" And yes, we are. And I thought he just wanted a cup of coffee. And I offered a cup of coffee, and he goes, "No, that's not what I'm here for. Down the street, there's people dying. There's a melee down there. There's people left behind. They're starving. They've been there for 4 days, and we've been roaming the city, and we didn't even know that." And I said, "Are you willing to take me in there?" And he goes, "Yeah, bring your cameras." So I went in there, and it was the twilight zone for me. I walked into a situation that I've never experienced personally. In world disasters, I expect that kind of behavior and that kind of scene, but not stateside. So it was very dramatic what I saw, what I witnessed, and yeah, till today.
And then, Tony, you know, you're a photographer. You're not usually on television, but you came back with so much passion and sadness that the producers ended up putting you on television. And I remember that the report we just saw was one of your more tame reports, but I remember your first few reports where you were emotional. You felt that you had to get the word out.
Yeah, I'm holding myself back right now, to be honest with you. Yeah. It was tough. I didn't want to do it. I wasn't ready to do it. I was all upset, and I wanted to say the right things, and I wasn't upset. at government, I was just upset that the resources weren't there, because we've covered, as you well know, Tom, we've covered so many other disasters, and, you know, you get to see the next day some resources come in and start helping people, but there was nothing there just down the street in downtown. And it was very emotional for me, because everybody, I went, like I said, it was a Twilight Zone moment where I was a different person, and I was seeing people that reminded me of my relatives, and it was very emotional, very devastating for me. I didn't want to go on camera, but they talked me into it, and as you know, the rest is history.
Yeah. What sticks with you from that day, from the people you met? When you shoot stories like that, there's always somebody or a family that stays with you.
You know, there were so many of those kind of moments, because I never expected the crowd to be so willing to want to talk to the media and be very peaceful about it, even though in their worst nightmare or their worst day, they were just calmly trying to tell me what they could, what they needed. And I didn't see any violence there, when everybody else was saying that it was very chaotic in there, and that's why the National Guard couldn't go in there. But this gentleman, Dwayne, he saved a lot of lives when he was able to get our cameras in there, and we were the first crew to get in there and showcase what was going on. So there was a lot of people that are sticked in my mind. I mean, I see the video, and of course tonight I'm going to relive it, but I always think that it's important to go back and talk about where we were and where we are today.
And what happened.
And
what happened after, Tony, after you sort of broke this story and you put those images out there and you provided those compelling emotional reports? What happened? Did any resources trickle in?
Well, you know, the main roadblock was that there was someone said that they were shooting at police officers and supply trucks, and the convoy was sitting about a half a mile out of the city and not moving. So I was able to go and talk to that particular supervisor and go, look, I brought my motor coach in there. I was just in the Superdome, and then I was also at the convention center, and there's no shooting. There's none of that. And the shooting was people trying to make a hole from inside their house so they can crawl out of the roof. And while the helicopters were out there, they were listening to helicopters. They're shooting from inside their home up to the roof so they can create a hole and get out. That was the kind of shooting that was going on, but not directly at any rescues or any 911 responders. So that was very dramatic, that all the food was sitting out there, and because of a bad rumor, and we couldn't confirm it, they were not able to come in with the food.
What do you think we've learned from Hurricane Katrina as we mark 20 years?
What I personally have learned, and, you know, we were just in North Carolina and now we had Texas, is that every state needs their own survival program. You can't just have one national program and then deploy that in areas where you don't really know what to expect. And now that we know that the water's raised just about anywhere, everybody needs to have survival boats and equipment and all the little things that you need to get to folks, you know, helicopters, and train the civilians. We need to train our civilians to be the real first responders. Maybe some homes can be the volunteers to keep some of the equipment that is needed so you can move it to other areas faster. But that's what I've learned. I just don't see a good program or a group of people that can sit together and go, you know what? Every state has different disasters. Let's see how we can, you know, try to put the right equipment in the right places, because you can't tell where it's going to happen, you know. But if you have them scattered out in various areas, the possibility of getting some help quickly there, it's going to be a lot faster.
Tony Zumbato, it has been a pleasure to talk to you. Thank you for sharing those memories back from Hurricane Katrina. Thank you for what you did in those days right after the storm. We appreciate it.
Thanks for having me, and congratulations, man. So proud of you.
Thank you. All right. Thanks so much for watching Top Story tonight. I'm Tom Llamas in New York. We're going to have much more of the live SpaceX launch right now on NBC News Now. Don't go anywhere. We thank you for watching, and remember, stay updated on breaking news and top stories on the NBC News app, or watch live on our YouTube channel.